Coker. It's hard to follow that up, but I've been to a lot of board meetings in the past, so I'm sure some of you do recognize me. I think that there's a couple of things that I do want to sort of point out for everybody here is that even right now we are a little bit over the 1 hour time frame, but to put it in perspective, the last 2 times that a large group of Indigenous peoples were talking APS combined was about an hour and a half. You know, even in terms of what we've done before, this forum is actually providing us less time than we had at the APS meetings. And that is a big problem. This is supposed to be some sort of, at least I was led to believe, a discussion between us and the school board and the people empowered in order to discuss what we're supposed to be doing. But as far as I can tell, it's just us telling you what's wrong, and then you'll come in later, you know, asking for more advice on what we should be doing. You have all these post-it notes, but as far as I know APS, you'll be trying to incorporate that into the current system, and that current system is currently the status quo. All of these acts have happened under the status quo. Mm-hmm. What we're actually saying through all these complaints and incidences is that the status quo is wrong, and there needs to be radical change within the APS school system. Even as far as, say, Indigenous curriculum that you have for NMPED, which as far as I understand was implemented sometime last year, if that Indigenous curriculum has to align itself with the NMPED standards, it on its own is going to be inherently racist. There are standards in there that are very problematic and in a way that is highly unrecognizable through most people. Mainly the one that irked me the most was for 5th grade social studies, that had its students compare and contrast the American civilizations like Mayans, Mound Builders, Iroquois Confederacy, and compare them to the ancient civilizations of Europe, like Babylon, Rome, and Greece. And what that does is it places a civilizational timeline where Native America, the civilizations that are still around today, are still 1,000 years in the past. And what that does is it reinforces the idea that we are, you know, uncivilized savages because we're only where Rome was 1,000 years ago. And these are the sort of problems that you need to look at and to start reinforcing sovereignty and reinforcing and empowering the American youth. And a lot of that has to do with how we approach Native American culture. There was a assignment there that had students debate whether or not there was a positive influence of the reconquest of New Mexico. It was framed as, you know, is there a positive negative influence? And it placed some students to argue for the side of Pueblo Indians, Comanche Indians. We even had a role set aside for a Pueblo ally, quote unquote. And what this does is not only can you create a situation where you have ideological blackface, say white students portraying themselves as a Native American, you also have the possibility of an entire class agreeing that the reconquest of New Mexico was a general positive experience for everyone involved. And this is sort of what the overall goal needs to be when we talk about Indigenous curriculum, is replacing Native America as sovereign nations, not just tribal, you know, individuals. And this is just one of the hardest things to get across in a lot of the pedagogy. As well, there's, I'm sorry, my mind's moving a mile a minute. It's hard to catch up with. But I do want to, at least personally, have some questions answered by you guys. Mainly the district board, is that I've been to all the meetings and I still haven't heard anything of what you've done so far. I sent an email out requesting information on what has been done so far, so I get an idea of what framework you guys are working in. And I didn't get any information. I was told to, you know, come to this meeting, and there was still no explanation. There was, you know, oh, we talked to, you know, this department or this national agency. Again, that's most likely just emails that got sent back and forth, and that's not progress. That's not you remotely telling us what's going on, you know. And again, this has to be radical, system-wide changes. We have to restructure everything we're doing. If you want to see what an actual Indigenous curriculum looks like, look to the survival schools. Look at the schools for students that aren't even on the public radar. Go to the reservations and see what they're doing with their schools. And there's so much that goes into this that if you actually want to improve this, you have to be willing to work with us to change not only, you know, district-wide policy changes, but statewide and nationally policy changes. If we can get your support on that, that will be a lot of help because, you know, we've been saying this for decades and nothing's been done.
at Toledo Munitions. I graduated from Sandia High School back in 2016. Growing up, I grew up on the reservation and came here, just like with, I had trouble with English. Navajo was my first language and then English. So what I want to just share some information for field trips. Maybe we have the Navajo Museum, the Longwalk Museum in Santa Rosa. We have the Pebble Culture Center here as well. You guys take students to the Hispanic Culture Center, find out the Pebble Culture Center. I'm pretty sure, I used to work there. We're very happy to get many other people to come and look at that culture center. And I just want to say that back home, if we are learning both English and Navajo, if we can do it, why can't everyone else learn other different cultures around them? Especially here in New Mexico, where you're surrounded by very much diversity, and you're on, Pueblo land, stolen lands. Just know where you come from, know where you're settling on. And, but yeah, like resources just like that, just down the street, the Culture Center. We also, I just want to encourage the students as well, and as the parents. I was in part of a Native American government class in my senior year. And to fund these field trips that we used to do to go to Santa Rosa or to go to the some of the petroglyphs, we would do like private sales or whatever like that. I encourage you guys, if you guys want to get funding for this, come together. Maybe we got to do like some type of food sale. Maybe have an open house, have some type of learning. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are interested in that. And at the same time, we also need to encourage and the highlight or the people to get that out there. Not just, like I said, this event was, I noticed it on Facebook. No one told me firsthand. I just had to go up there and look for myself. We need that broadcast, I guess you would say. So that's all I gotta say. Thank you. I'm so sorry that happened to you. Thank you again for coming and speaking. Thank you for your time. I'm sorry we pushed more than an hour, but thank you. Yeah.
Sayamani, Washington, Bonnie, thank you, Washington. Hello everyone, my name is Reyes DeVore from the Pueblo of Indigenous, and I am here as a mother and as a community member, and my son is also a student at APS schools. And I actually just want to take the time to acknowledge Mackenzie Johnson for the strength that she continues to have to share her story. This past Sunday, I had the opportunity to speak at the Women's March here in Albuquerque, and I sat next to Mackenzie on that stage, and I saw her writing down every single thing, writing every bullet to make sure that she hit every single point of her story. And I thought to myself, I was in awe of her strength and her resiliency to continue to share this story, to have to continue to walk through that emotional, mental, and physically straining behavior. Indigenous people every day have to exhaust all of that labor all the time, and we're tired of it. That's what many of us are here today. But not only that, the reason why the systemic racism continues to happen, not just within our society, but within our school systems, is that we have people that are in these positions of power, that are given these positions to serve our students in their education, that are continuously being just bystanders. They're not hitting the points of where change needs to happen. That didn't happen in October, and it's January. Obviously, things aren't just going to happen that quickly, but why hasn't an apology been issued to Mackenzie and those other students? Why hasn't the principal apologized to her? But not only that, why should we only be allotted this amount of time to have this much discussion? Because in order for us to really truly look at cultural competency and look at Indigenous curriculum, then that's going to be a long haul. And I hope that there are many other community forums where a lot of our educators, our family members, and our parents are able to be in this platform and are able to speak as well, because they deserve that time. And the things that I had talked about in my Indigenous curriculum and cultural competency training is that the Indigenous curriculum also needs to include land acknowledgement. It needs to include that, and we need to continuously acknowledge that Albuquerque and Rio Rancho, before it consisted of that, there were Pueblo people who lived all along that Rio Grande, and we existed here long before that. And in the cultural competency, we need to make sure that we are acknowledging the fact that these trainings that need to happen are not just for our teachers, but for the students that are within these courses, because they are the ones that are also coming from homes where that racist rhetoric is happening. And so we need to continuously hold these people in these positions and hold them accountable for where they're at, because an apology should have been issued a long time ago. And we all know that. And we are all tired of us having to talk to our students. My son is a 10-year-old and he's a 5th grader who has long hair. And he's the one that wanted to grow that hair out. And I remember when he made that decision, I knew in the back of my head that I had to have the conversation for him to be ready to acknowledge and hold his strength in himself if anyone were to come at him and make any kind of comments to him for having long hair. Us as parents, we're tired of that. And I really hope that APS and the education board, whoever sits on all of these committees, really think about that. Stop being complacent. Stop all the politics that happen within the politics, because this is exactly why we're here today.
Yes, Tiffany Shaw-Nisha. I am a pilot of APS. My daughter is actually going to be going to Stephen next year. She's an 8th grader. I just wanted to come up and say a few things. First off, this whole meeting was prefaced with the comment that this was a horrible incident. If it's horrible now, why is there no apology? It just kind of makes sense. How can you ask a community to move forward if you're not acknowledging there's a problem? My daughter, she's going to be a freshman. I wish the principal would have stayed and shown some interest in, the rest of this meeting, because I want her to know that my daughter's pretty apprehensive about going to Sequoia now. She's, with her being Native American, going into high school is hard enough. But now she's carrying this extra weight on her shoulders, not knowing how she's going to be treated when she gets there. My question and my comment for the board is, I would like to see how there's going to be oversight implemented into these trainings and programs that you are planning to put forth. I would like to see outside oversight happen. I was curious, I wanted to know if APS is accredited by any outside bodies. And if not, then maybe that should be sought out so that there is some outside oversight to ensure transparency, to ensure that these things that you're promising do come to fruition. And not just, because if it's held to somebody within APS, how do we know it's going to happen? How do we know it's going to be fulfilled? I really encourage the board to seek some kind of accrediting body to come in and maybe do an initial assessment and then an annual assessment after that. My comment or my suggestion for the cultural competency training was that this not just be a one-time thing. That if you do it for the teachers, then you do it for the existing teachers, then you do it for the incoming teachers as well. That's part of their employee training. and also an annual refresher, because this is not something that's going to come and just go away. So I would really like to see that there's a plan for this, and not just for right now as a Band-Aid, like we all kind of acknowledge that that's what's happening right now, but that we look forward and that we are able to hold you guys accountable, because our children are in your care.